You've caught me here on Walking Street and just thinking about the traditions of Thailand, you know, the beaches, the beautiful temples, the ATMs. Yes, the old cliche that the Western tourist always has to stick his hand in his pocket is not always true, but, you know, it got me thinking of 3 stories, true stories that happened to me here in Pattaya that showed that sometimes when a Westerner comes here, he hears those dreaded 3 words and he's out of pocket. The 3 words, FALANG must pay. Come with me as we go to the locations where these happen. If you like the story, give us a like, subscribe to the channel. I've moved just up Walking Street to the site of my very first job here in Pattaya, and it was right here. This was Club Electric Blue. I do remember there was a big advertising hoarding here, there was a big advertising hoarding there. Next door was a place called Hooties, which was basically a rip-off of Hooters. And if you remember the story I told you earlier about the elephant that walked into the bar outside the Go-Go bar, that happened here. The elephant walked up here and I was sitting just inside beyond these doors, which weren't there then, by the way, and frightened me. Anyway, this story happened on a Friday night, one of the first nights that I was working in this bar. And I started talking to a gentleman. He was quite a short guy, and he had blonde streaked hair, and he was an American guy. And guess what? He was telling me all about his job in America. And did he have a normal job? No, of course not. He was a stuntman. And he'd worked at Paramount Studios, he'd worked for Disney, he'd worked on James Bond films, on TV and everything. And he was really very, very confident. Now, I noticed he'd had 1 or 2 drinks and he was getting a little bit tipsy, but he was quite happy to tell me about his work as a stuntman. Anyway, I managed to lose the guy, thankfully, because a couple of the girls took over and started chatting to him, trying to get a few drinks out of him, which is what they're paid to do. And I thought nothing more of it. The lights went on and we were just about to finish the evening when I heard this commotion that was going on. I was looking around and thought, what's happening? What's happening? I saw this man. I'm not saying he was in a bloody pool, but he was clearly on the floor and he was injured. And I went, oh my God, what's happened? Apparently, to demonstrate to the girls that he'd just been talking to, that he was a stuntman, he'd gone up to the 2nd floor. And as you can see, it's rather quite a tall building. He'd gone up to the 2nd floor. There was a balcony on the one side and a balcony on the other. And there wasn't a floor, so you could stand on the balcony, look down, you could see all the club going on. And there was a few naughty things going on the 2nd floor. He'd walked onto the 2nd floor, climbed over the balcony and decided to show these girls what a brave stuntman he was by jumping all the way over this sort of distance to the other balcony. It was a Friday night, he was drunk. He missed the balcony and the height is going to be, I don't know, about 5-6 meters or something like that. Missed the balcony, lost his grip and fallen from the balcony down to the floor below. It was quite scary. He was lying on the floor. What had happened was, as he came down, he'd grabbed onto a light fixture that was lighting up one of the stages down below. And he tried to hang on to this light, ripped the light off, and then fallen down onto the floor into a crumpled heap, and he's all there. And the guy's lying there and he's got this light with the wires hanging out of it, looking around like, oh, what's it? And my staff had run to his assistance to try and help him. No. I distinctly remember my head of security saying to the guy, Falang, you break light. Falang must pay. FALANG must pay. Yes, those 3 magic words. He wasn't bothered about his well-being whatsoever. He just wanted the money for the broken light that he'd come on the way down. You know, walking around Secrets here on Soy 14, I've got so many happy memories of all the bars I worked in. I enjoyed working in all the bars that I worked in, but Secrets, was the one that was closest to my heart. And it's very sad to see, obviously, the state of it now. It will, like the whole of Walking Street and Pattaya, be the phoenix from the flames, but not quite at the moment. The second story about a Falang who has to pay happened here. And it was high season and very, very busy. Bar was full of girls, full of customers, and one night this guy checked into the hotel and he came into the main body of the bar, and this guy had screamed, "Look at me, I want attention," written all over him. He was quite tall, quite a big guy. He was fat. He had a walking stick, which was almost like a sort of a pimp stick, if you like. And actually, I do remember taking it off him. And it was a very ornate walking stick, very, very nice, very, you know, like a real gentleman sort of thing. Always dressed very smartly, and, you know, just a guy that girls would gravitate to. You know, you would instantly think that this guy had a lot of money. And he spent like he had a lot of money. He was buying lady drinks, ringing bells, buying food for all the girls, buying me drinks. It was great. And he was running up bills of 20,000 baht a night, 30,000, 40,000. And every night he'd get the bill. And because he was staying in a hotel, he'd just sign the bill and say, "Yeah, stick it on my room. No problem." Well, this happened for a few days. I started talking to this guy, and I can't really give the game away, but this guy was in the entertainment industry, and he was a manager for some very, very famous British acts, if you like, from the 1980s, tribute acts and real acts. And one of the acts that he managed was a very, very famous pop group, huge name. For the life of me, I don't want to say what it was. But if you ever come to the bar, hey, this is a bit of one, I'll tell you what the name was. And he obviously was somebody who wanted to show that, you know, he had connections. And he says, "Hey, I'm going to be talking to," name of the person in the band. She's doing pantomime in the UK at the moment. Would you like to see her? And I went, "Yeah, that'd be great." So he's on his iPad and he calls this person, and sure enough, this girl, famous, very famous pop star from the 80s, is in her dressing room doing pantomime, and I'm saying hello to him. I'm sitting in there on his iPad and I'm talking to him, and I'm thinking, yeah, this guy's got connections, he's clearly got money. Don't worry about all the bills that he's signing, you know, he's going to be a guy with lots of dosh. So his bill for his hotel and for the entertainment was going into the hundreds of thousands. In fact, it was well over 120,000 baht for his stay. Very early on in the morning, about 5 o'clock, when he had to check out, 2 suitcases, comes walking down the stairs out here, and he's out into the soy, and he's starting to walk very, very quickly. Some might say he was running with his suitcases. Now, at the time, the bar was closed. It was 4 or 5 in the morning, and there was only one receptionist on here. We didn't have a security guard. So it was a small receptionist girl, and she kind of grabs him and pulls him by the bag and says, "Hey, mister, your bill, you haven't paid your bill." "Oh, yeah, I'm just going to the ATM to get some money." Of course, you always go to the ATM with your suitcases. And he was off. And he basically did a runner on his bill, which is like 130,000 baht. Right. Now, you could say more for the bar and the hotel for not getting the money as it's gone on. But anyway, he's gone. We have a meeting about this that afternoon. The guy's just disappeared. He's gone with his stuff and he's gone. We have to pull a few strings at immigration, and we find out from the booking systems that take place here in Pattaya where he's gone to stay. We had to grease a few palms to do that. And we find out that he's staying in this horrible little 2-star hotel in central Pattaya. So, okay, we decide to get a couple of friends together, me and the security manager, and these two guys go and try and confront this guy about his unpaid bill. He thinks he's got away with it. We go there, we manage to get through the concierge system, through the reception, into the lift, and we're knocking on his door in this horrible, horrible hotel that he's gone in. Knock, 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 knock. He opens the door. He's got some, well, let's call her a friend in there. I'm saying she, I'm not quite sure. And he's there with just a towel wrapped round him. And the look on his face is, I mean, it was worth 130 grand just to see the look on his face. Oh, and I says, I can't remember his name. Let's just call him Barry. I went, hello, mate. How are you? Listen, did you know you'd forgotten to pay your bill at Secrets? And he was like, oh, my God, how have they found out to do this? Good tip for you. Hotels can trace you. If you go and book into another hotel, hotels can trace you, so don't do it. So he's then gone completely wild, ordered this girl out of the room, and we're worried because he owes 130 grand. Oh, and then all the stories come out. Oh, I've got a few problems with my credit cards. One got held by the bank, and now this one has been refused for this reason. I haven't registered with it that I'm in Thailand. All the excuses under the sun came out, and he basically hadn't got any money on him. So we was in a bit of a dilemma. I was told to hold on to his passport, but holding on to his passport is actually illegal. You're not allowed to do that. So I had a decision to make what to do. And wrongly, I says, all right, we'll give you 24 hours. We know where you are. Don't move. We're going to get you. Well, what happens? 24 hours time, we go back. He's checked out and he's gone. So we're back onto our friends at immigration and find out where he's gone. And he's gone to the Ambassador Hotel in Bangkok. Which is right by the BTS station, if you don't know. So I get one of the Secrets cars, go down with a couple of heavies and a guy, and we're outside the Ambassador, and we're waiting, and the Ambassador won't show us up to his room. They know what's going on, but they won't show us up to his room. And finally, I think I waited for about 9 hours, and finally about 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, guess what? He's walking through reception with his suitcases. He hasn't got the money to pay for the Ambassador. We managed to get the guy. He hasn't got any money. We're watching his social media, and he's talking to his friends that he's being held hostage in Bangkok, and he's got no money. Basically, he was just running up bills and being a con man. He actually went to stay in an immigration jail until he could find the money. And he found the money, and then he spent New Year in prison, finally getting some money from home to get a plane home. So, a rather unfortunate story, but if you really want to know, and if you really want to be making your mind up, don't live in a world of make-believe. Make sure that you pay your bill before you leave, because as you know, FALANG must pay. So we come to our final story, and guess what? We're back in the pub, sitting on these famous green sofas that you might have seen on the live streams, or if you've been into the bar. And it's these sofas that are the formation of the final story about FALANG must pay. And actually, this story, the FALANG didn't pay, but he should have. But it's my kind-heartedness that meant that he didn't. My friend was a German guy, and he was a bit nuts. He was very loud, you know. He was one of those, he sort of had a volume button in the back, and it always turned up to 11. You could never, ever have a quiet conversation with him. He was always very, very loud and boisterous. And he came in one day with his wife, and he had a big smile on his face, and he had a little bag with him. And hello, how you doing? You know, his English wasn't too good, so he couldn't really have much of a conversation. And he explained to me that it was his birthday, and, you know, happy birthday, one of those he wanted all the attention because it was his day of birth. And him and his wife came and sat down on one of the sofas. And he says, Phil, would you be a real friend of mine? You know, we come here quite a lot, we play pool, we have a few drinks, but I've just got this special German drink that I'd like to have and share with you, my good friend Phil, on this special occasion, my birthday. And I says, yeah, no problem. He says, I'll pay corkage. I says, no, don't bother. It's okay, no problem. Let's have a drink, you know. And it was some kind of, it was like schnapps or something like that. It was a drink that was a shot. It tasted like rocket fuel. It was horrible. But one of the things that he wanted to do was set it on fire. He said that this was a tradition in Germany when they had a toast, it was always on fire. And of course, you know, he wanted all the attention as he had this round of drinks. Now, it's lovely to set drinks on fire, but unfortunately, technically, it's quite difficult because in this bar, although we haven't got them turned on at the moment because of the microphones, we've got 6 fans and we've got 2 aircon units and then we've got another fan. And we've got some air curtains. So we have to turn all of those off before we can even start to think about lighting drinks because that's just the way it is. They'll always go out. So I went around with the remotes, turning everything off. Bartender B brought the 3 drinks out on a tray, great. And he goes to light the drinks. Now, I've held back on quite an important characteristic of my friend from Germany, and that was he'd only got one arm. And he always sort of struggled with doing a lot of things because of his disability. Now, I'm not mocking his disability at all, but it does come into the story. So I tried to light the free shots and they wouldn't light. B tried to light them and they wouldn't light. And I says, are you sure these drinks? And he goes, yes, in Germany, no problem. We always light them before we chink glasses. Okay. He says, I'll show you. So he took the lighter, lit the drinks, and he had a go. He had about 20 goes, but he managed to light the 3 drinks, one for me, one for his wife, and one for himself. And these 3 drinks were there, burning away. And I was quite surprised. It was quite a fire that was going on, and everyone was looking around. Because he had the one arm, he wanted to put the lighter back on the table. And as he did so, spilt the 3 drinks that were on fire, and they all went onto the sofa. And literally, the sofa was on fire. It was in flames. And they were going, oh, no. And he was running around going, oh, no, whatever. Anyway, very, very cleverly, B had got a bucket of ice or an ice bucket and he doused the sofa. But the sofa was completely... It wasn't ruined. The sponge, the filling inside was a little bit burnt, but a lot of the covering, the faux leather, as we call it, was damaged. And he was going, oh, I'm so sorry. Now, this guy wasn't the richest guy in the world. And he was going, oh, I'm going to have to pay. And all my staff were looking at him, thinking those 3 words, FALANG must pay, FALANG must pay. And I says, you know what? You're a good customer. You're okay. Don't worry about it. And you know what? Week after week, he used to come in and he used to say, oh, thank you very much for that. You know, that was really kind of you for not letting me pay. FALANG should have paid on that occasion, but in fact, I let him off with it. So, the moral of the story, sometimes you have to look a little bit long-term to keep a good customer happy. I hope you've enjoyed those 3 stories. We had a bit of a laugh going around a few of the old venues. We try to keep things positive on this channel. So I hope you're enjoying all the happy memories from Pattaya. And you know what? Pretty soon it's going to be you, hopefully, and your friends sitting on these sofas and having a few drinks with me. And hopefully not setting fire to the place. For me, Mr. Egg, thank you so much. Keep the likes and the subscriptions going, and we'll see you very soon. But for me now, at the pub, bye.